The boxers have been given their instructions. The seconds are out. The crowd is ready for another edition of Shoulder Roll Virtual Boxing with your presenter, the boxing historian, Greg Rashid.
Oh, I'm sorry. I really get into that theme song all the time. But anyway, this is Greg Rashid, your presenter for another edition of the Shoulder Roll Virtual Boxing Podcast. And if you're new to the program, I want to say Swati Krap to you, which means hello in Thai. I'm in Bangkok, Thailand. It looks like it's going to be raining a little later, but right now the weather's lovely. And I hope wherever you are listening to this program that it's lovely there too. And we're just happy to have you aboard today because if you're listening, you probably are a boxing enthusiast. You love boxing. And what we do on here, we do fantasy fights. In other words, we take different modalities, card and dice games, computer games, and kind of mix things up and create fantasy fights. In other words, what would happen if Mike Tyson fought Tyson Fury or if Joe Louis fought Joe Frazier? What would happen? And I know you as a boxing fan, you probably sit around and say, I wonder what happened if this person fought this person. So that's what we do on this program. And besides doing fights, we talk about news, current news in the world of boxing, the real world of boxing. And from time to time, we'll play some music here. But we're going to get into the fight right now. And this fight was simmed by Legends of Boxing 2 PC game created by Gary Brown, who's been on this program before. We're going to have him on again another when he's going to have a newer version, I think, of Legends of Boxing coming out probably beginning of next year, maybe the end of this year. But we're going to talk to him about that. But right now, today, we're going to have a heavyweight bout. And it's funny because in all the years I've been doing this, I never had these two guys get together to battle it out. And who I'm talking about is Larry Holmes and Lennox Lewis. That should be a classic. So we're going to have our commentator, the world-renowned Knockout Nigel, giving us the commentary. So sit back, get your favorite beverage, and listen in to this. I know it's going to be a sterling fight. So let's hear it now on the Shoulder Roll Virtual Boxing Podcast.
Cheers. This is Knockout Nigel, your humble commentator, reporting live from the Thomas and Mack Center in Las Vegas. The atmosphere here is absolutely electric as we prepare for a historic heavyweight clash between two legends of the sport. Larry Holmes, the crafty veteran with the most lethal jab in boxing history, and Lennox Lewis, the younger, powerful technician with dynamite in his fists. And as always, this Vegas bubbly is dynamite. So smooth as it goes down the windpipe. The bell rings for round one, and Holmes bursts out of his corner like a man possessed. He's not here to feel Lewis out. He's here to make a statement. Holmes steps forward with purpose, feints with the jab, and then, bam, a straight right-hand lead cracks Lewis right on the chin. Lewis's legs wobble, and he stumbles back into the ropes, his eyes momentarily glazed over. The crowd erupts as Holmes smells blood and charges forward, throwing a flurry of punches. Lewis, clearly hurt, clinches desperately, wrapping Holmes up and smothering his offense. Holmes tries to work the body in the clinch, digging short hooks into Lewis's ribs, but Lewis is holding on for dear life. The referee breaks them, and Holmes lands another sharp jab before Lewis clinches again. Lewis is in survival mode, and Holmes is dominating. The round ends with Lewis looking shaken and Holmes looking confident. Lewis is known to have a suspect chin. Holmes has already found his way to it. Let's see if he continues to exploit it as round two begins. Lewis comes out more cautiously, circling the ring with his guard high and his feet moving carefully. Holmes is patient, flicking out that legendary jab like a piston. But Lewis is doing a better job of staying out of range. Lewis lands a couple of probing body shots, but they're more to keep Holmes honest than to hurt him. Holmes responds with a stiff jab that snaps Lewis's head back, the sound of leather on skin echoing through the arena. Lewis tries to establish his own jab, but Holmes slips most of them and counters with a sharp right hand that grazes Lewis's temple. The crowd murmurs, waiting for something to happen. The round ends with little fanfare, but Holmes's jab is clearly the story so far. Probably the greatest left jab in heavyweight history. I have told Greg Rashid that I would not be biased despite Lennox being a representative of Britain. If I could, I would tell Lennox to use a higher guard against the crafty Holmes. I am certain Manny Stewart has told him that in his corner. The pace remains slow as both fighters continue to respect each other's power. Lewis is trying to work behind his jab, but Holmes's defense is tight, slipping in and rolling with most of the punches. Holmes lands a couple of clean jabs, the sound of each one popping like a whip. Lewis counters with a right hand that partially lands on Holmes's shoulder, but Holmes shrugs it off and fires back with a quick right hand over the top. Lewis steps in with a left hook to the body, but Holmes counters with a sharp jab that snaps Lewis's head back. The crowd is getting restless, and the referee gestures for both men to pick up the pace. Neither does. Another quiet round, but Holmes's jab continues to find its mark. Lennox has a good left jab as well, but it appears he is loading up, waiting for that one opportunity to deliver a knockout shot. And it is time for another shot of bubbly. Vegas bubbly is so gratifying, at least for me. Kiki, the ring card girl, took a swig of my bubbly at the after party of the last fight. She is still in ER. My bubbly is not for everyone. The crowd roars as Lewis finally lands something significant. After a slow start to the round, Lewis steps in with a left cross that crashes into Holmes's face. Holmes's knees buckle and he stumbles backward, his nose immediately gushing blood. Lewis pounces, throwing a flurry of punches, but Holmes, ever the veteran, covers up and rides out the storm. Lewis lands a couple more shots, including a thudding right hand to the body, but Holmes survives the round, blood dripping down his face. The crowd is on its feet as the bell rings, and Lewis looks reinvigorated. Way to go, Lennox. Oh, I forgot. I must be impartial. That was the bubbly talking, not me. Holmes comes out with a sense of urgency, knowing he needs to turn the tide in round 5. He's pumping that jab like a piston, keeping Lewis at bay. Lewis is patient, waiting for an opening, but Holmes is too smart to leave himself exposed. Lewis lands a solid right hand to the body, but Holmes counters with a sharp left hook that catches Lewis on the ear. Holmes follows up with a crisp 1-2 that snaps Lewis's head back. Lewis responds with a right hand that grazes Holmes's temple, but Holmes is the busier fighter this round. The crowd applauds as the bell rings, and Holmes's corner works frantically to stem the flow of blood from his nose. I just received a text from Greg Rashid. He says if I root for Lewis again, he will fire me on the spot and bring back Shoulder Roll Steve. I got it. No cheering for Lennox. Lewis is starting to find his rhythm in round 6, using his size and reach to keep Holmes on the outside. He lands a couple of stiff jabs and follows up with a right hand that grazes Holmes's cheek. Holmes, undeterred, fires back with a combination, but Lewis blocks most of them. Lewis steps in with a left hook to the body, but Holmes counters with a right hand over the top. The action is still measured, but Lewis is starting to take control. The round ends with Lewis landing a clean right hand that forces Holmes to hold. These champions are putting on a boxing clinic this evening, for the fans. Let's see if it will continue in round 7. Holmes digs deep and lands a beautiful right hand over the top of Lewis's guard. Lewis shakes it off and responds with a thudding body shot that makes Holmes wince. The two exchange jabs in the center of the ring, neither man giving an inch. Holmes lands a sneaky uppercut, but Lewis counters with a right hand that partially lands. Lewis steps in with a left hook to the body, but Holmes fires back with a sharp jab that snaps Lewis's head back. The crowd is on their feet as the two warriors trade shots in the final 10 seconds. Another close round. This back-and-forth tussle between these blokes is what I expected. Two of the all-time greats in boxing meeting to settle it all. Lewis is starting to press the action in round 8, backing Holmes up with his jab and following up with power shots. Holmes is still landing his jab, but Lewis's punches are heavier. Lewis lands a big right hand that forces Holmes to hold, but Holmes fires back with a combination that keeps Lewis honest. Lewis steps in with a left hook to the body, but Holmes counters with a right hand over the top. The crowd is on their feet as the two warriors trade shots in the final 10 seconds. Any other fighter would have been on the canvas from those power blows that are drilling at each other. But these two are legends. Holmes is showing his championship heart in round 9, fighting through fatigue and blood to keep himself in the fight. He lands a crisp 1-2 that snaps Lewis's head back, but Lewis responds with a thundering body shot that makes Holmes take a step back. Holmes fires back with a sharp jab, but Lewis counters with a right hand that grazes Holmes's temple. The action is back and forth, with both men having their moments. The crowd is roaring as the round ends. How does one score this on so far? I am glad I am not judging this one. Oh, I have received another text from Greg Rashid. He says that I am doing a much better job. He said I am acting like the professional he originally hired. Thank you for those kind words. I will drink a sip of bubbly to that. Round 10 begins with Lewis starting to take control, using his size and strength to bully Holmes in the clinch. He lands a couple of hard uppercuts that force Holmes to hold, but Holmes fires back with a sharp right hand that catches Lewis clean. Lewis steps in with a left hook to the body, but Holmes counters with a right hand over the top. The pace is slowing, but the tension is palpable. The crowd is on their feet as the round ends. The championship rounds are upon us. Which of these pugilists will dominate as round 11 begins? Holmes digs deep and lands a beautiful combination den that forces Lewis to retreat. Lewis, however, responds with a brutal right hand that stops Holmes in his tracks. Holmes fires back with a sharp jab, but Lewis counters with a right hand that partially lands. The two exchange heavy shots in the center of the ring, but neither man can gain a clear advantage. They fall into a clinch. You can tell they are tired from the 11 rounds of action. The crowd is roaring as the round ends. The championship hearts of both fighters will have them giving their all as the final round begins. The final round. Both men know the fight is close, and they come out swinging. Lewis lands a huge right hand early, but Holmes fires back with a combination that forces Lewis to hold. Lewis steps in with a left hook to the body, but Holmes counters with a right hand over the top. The two trade punches in the center of the ring, neither man backing down. Holmes throws a double left jab. Lewis counters with a right uppercut. Holmes misses a left hook, but scores with a straight right. Lewis digs a left to the body as the bell ends the fight. The crowd is on their feet as the final bell rings. What a fight! Holmes and Lewis give each other a hug. Lewis tells him, "Good fight." The judges score it 115, 115, 116, 115, 117, 114, in favor of Lennox Lewis by majority decision. The crowd erupts in a mix of cheers and boos, as many felt Holmes did enough to win. Holmes and his corner are furious, storming out of the ring without acknowledging the decision. Lewis raises his arms in victory, but the controversy will surely linger. If the listeners want a rematch, let us know. I will now return you to our Bangkok studios. This is Knockout Nigel. Cheers.
Yeah, I mean, looking at that fight, doing the simulation for it, I actually had Holmes winning that, but you don't know with these judges. You never know. Even on computer simulations, you never know. But I hope you enjoyed that fight. And if you want the rematch, let me know. Wherever you're listening to this program, be it on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Apple, wherever you're listening to it, please drop a note, as so many of you people do out there. And I really love that. Thank you so much. And support, just say you want to see these two get it on again. And also, if you want to promote a fight, just let me know what two fighters you want to get together and duke it out, and I will put them in here. And if you want to be a Patreon member, and I have to say this. I have some folks who are Patreon members, but there are so many of you who make suggestions, who want these fights, who love what I do on here, but you're not a member yet. Please become a member. Only $1 a month, whatever you can do, just to keep this show going, so we can have a professional program for a better microphone, better lighting, computer system. We can go live with this thing, and we get a better equipment. But it's up to you. It's up to you, because it's your show. But do what you can. Go to patreon.com. Look for Ringside Fantasy Fights and News, and make your donation of $1, whatever you can do, $1 a month. Really greatly appreciated. And right now we're going to turn things over to Jessica, our martial arts champion, and she has some news about the, I think she's talking about world boxing and the decisions they are making. So let's hear that on the Shoulder Roll Virtual Boxing Podcast.
World boxing has reached an advanced stage of its investigation into the gender eligibility row that blighted the sport at the Olympic Games last year, and expects to announce its findings in a matter of weeks rather than months. Boris van der Vorst, the president of boxing's governing body that was given a green light on Monday to run the Olympic competition at Los Angeles 2028, said, "There's no specific timeline, but I expect it within 2 or 3 weeks. We want to have it before our next competition in Brazil." Van der Vorst said all recommendations would need approval by him and the WB board. Algeria's Imane Khelif and Taiwan's Lin Yuting, the 2 gold medal-winning boxers at the center of the controversy in Paris, have not applied for entry to the World Boxing Cup, which begins on the 31st of March in Foz do Iguaçu. It is not clear whether their national federations will try to enter their fighters for a World Cup event starting in Kazakhstan on the 30th of June. In an interview to be broadcast by ITV on Wednesday evening, Khelif stressed her renewed determination to box on and win gold in L.A. Responding to Donald Trump's false claim that she was a transgender athlete, Khelif said, "I am not transgender. This does not concern me, and it does not intimidate me." She said her aim was to win a second gold medal, of course, in America, Los Angeles. The bitterness of the dispute underpins the urgency as world boxing tries to bring clarity to a deeply emotive subject. It's an extremely complex issue with significant welfare concerns, Van der Vorst said. "We have established a working group in line with our medical committee, which will develop a sex, age, and weight policy. They're working with medical evidence from a wide range of experts across the world, including the Independent Council for Women's Sports. They're developing an updated policy that will determine the eligibility of boxers to participate in world boxing competitions. It's important we can deliver a competitive, level playing field for men and women that assures the safety of everyone involved."
And that's the key thing, safety. And we're going to see what the decision will be with this. But like I said before, when they talked about this last year, and actually saw Khalif fight here in Bangkok during the preliminaries, the pre-Olympic trials here, that, you know, and if you know anything, see, folks don't know anything. You know, a lot of folks, they just say things, but, you know, she's Algerian, she's Muslim, and if you know anything about Islam, you know, they would never have a transgender person representing them at all. They wouldn't do that. If they, you know, because that's the law in Islam. That's it. But if they made changes or something I didn't know. But anyway, we're going to see what happens. We're going to be following this situation with world boxing, what they're going to do with this, and for the L.A. Olympics. And you know, and I'm glad too, because at one point they weren't going to have any boxing period at the Olympics in 2028, but now they are. Now they are, so that's good. But anyway, we're gonna, because Jessica gave us that report, I'm gonna throw a little music on right now for Jessica, and this is by Quincas Moreta, and this is Kung Fu Love Tree. This is out to our martial arts expert Jessica. A little bit of Kung Fu Tree love there. Hope you enjoyed that on the Shoulder Roll Virtual Boxing Podcast. And let me turn the mic up here a little bit. What's going on here? Anyway, there we go. There we go. That's what we need. That's why we need you to support us as Patreons, so I can get a better mic. But anyway, hope you enjoyed the music and also the fight today between Holmes and Lewis. If you want us to do it again, let me know. But we're going to get ready to get out of here right now. As we always say, go in love and go in peace. Help someone along the way. And when you wake up in the morning, get up, look in the mirror, hug yourself, and say, I love myself. And if you're sight impaired, get up, hug yourself, and say, I love myself. Give yourself a big hug. Because if you don't love yourself, you can't do anything. You can't help anyone because you can't help yourself because you don't love yourself. But do what you can. Love yourself first. Help someone in your community, your province, rural area, wherever you are, gated community. You know, help a young person in need. You may see an animal in distress. Help a senior in need. You know, give thanks every second of your life. And, not, you know, if there's someone in your neighborhood, you know, someone you think that may be in distress, may need your help and all, just knock on their door sometime and just, see if they're all right, just to make sure, because we're here only a short time. We're on this sphere together, so let's do what we can. There are wars and rumors of wars out there, and we got insanity going on in the White House in my hometown, Washington, D.C. So do something to make it a better place and lift up some positive energy just to make it better. Do what you can. But anyway, this is Greg Rashid. Go in love and go in peace. We'll see you next time on the Shoulder Roll Virtual Boxing Podcast.
Thanks for tuning in. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. Thanks and have a great day.